What's up, everybody? We're Real People Gaming, and I'm Jen Yuchin.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Mae.
Oh, I'm Shawn, yeah.
And we're here to wrap up the last decade of gaming. We're all going to be discussing our top 3 games of the decade and talk about the years that have gone by. So, what are our top 3 choices?
Number 1 on my list, I have Undertale. Number 2, I have Breath of the Wild. And number 3, I have Life is Strange.
Number 1, I have Bloodborne. Number 2 would be Xenoblade Chronicles X. And then coming up number 3 is Shovel Knight.
Number 1, I have Mass Effect 2. Number 2, Breath of the Wild. And number 3, I'd say either Skyrim or The Last of Us. Still trying to debate which one.
The time has come.
We will find out at the end of this
The Last of
episode.
Us.
It's the end of the decade.
I'm going to let you have that. I'm going to let you not know. Mine is in no particular order, but... Fuck, what did I choose? Oh my god.
You're like Undertale, Life is Strange.
Undertale, Madden 2002.
Madden 2002. My games that I chose were Skyrim. I chose... What was my second game? Why am I doing this to myself? Oh. My second game was BioShock Infinite. And my third game is a mobile game, and it's called Love, Nikki, Fashion Queen.
Did
Aw.
BioShock Infinite come out this decade?
2011.
Mhm.
Oh, right on the cusp.
Mm-hmm. First, let's talk about Undertale, Dustin's choice.
Mhm.
Undertale came out September 15th, 2015. Dustin, you can start and say why you liked it, and everybody could just chime in like normal conversation.
Apologies in advance if I sound like a pubescent boy. It's been a time of the year.
That puberty time.
I've taught you. bit of a late bloomer. This is a decade for me,
This is
though.
puberty season.
Yeah.
Decade of puberty.
Finally gonna be a man in 2020. I'm a bit of an old school gamer. Never really got too much into the newer games till the last couple of years. When I played Undertale, rang all the bells, had all the good tropes. Nothing that seemed too redundant though, because it was more of a flavor of love. Earthbound, the whole Mother series, one of my favorite games of all time. Drew a lot from that, and just evoked a lot of emotion. You know, you really felt connected to the character as you were going through it. You felt, not to sound cheesy, but you felt a little bit like a scared kid lost in a world full of monsters.
Mm.
And just the fact that there's so many different ways to play the game and beat the game, so many different, heirs to your consequences. You can go through your, what do they call it, the pacifist mode, the homicidal mode.
Yeah, or
It's-
just like somewhere in between.
Yeah, you can play the same game over and over again and still get countless hours of entertainment out of it.
You felt bad.
Yeah.
Once you started playing and you got to know these characters and the world that you were in, it really had such a good world built for it.
Just the
where
dialogue
you felt
alone, yeah.
invested. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if I eventually I didn't want to hurt anybody. I just wanted to be friends with everybody in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Had great music.
It did have
I
great
really like.
music.
I
Yes, it
still,
did.
to this day, I get the theme when you fight the last boss, the king.
Megalomania?
Mhm.
Not that one,
No,
the
it's not,
king.
It's not.
The king guy. That's what I meant.
Mm.
Yeah.
When he, he goes down there and he slashes the menu so that your, was it the talk option
Mhm.
or however it is gone, and it's like dang, 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 and it's like, yeah.
I just love the
Feel
fact that game was pervasive. Like when that game came out, I had heard about it, and like most things, I'm a habitual contrarian, so I'm like, oh, everybody loves it, so it probably sucks.
Yeah.
I was never a big fan of. I'm blanking on what the actual term is, but when a game is sort of an 8-bit game or sort of a 16-bit game, but there's always something a little off about it.
I always call them high bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good term.
There's a lot of games
Like,
like that
that's
now
a-
where
That's a
it's
high 8-bit.
more homage games, yeah. Big Star Tropics fan. It had a lot of that quirkiness too.
Mhm.
So it just felt like a classic game that got re-released. And seamlessly to me. A little sardonic, twisted in certain spots. But like you said, the dialogue, the way the characters made you feel, the flow of the game, like especially the last probably half-hour stretch of it. Mwah.
And there's also so
Pizza
many
fingers.
secrets in it too. Like You
Yeah.
can play the game a bunch of times and still not do everything that is in the game.
Yeah.
And that's
I
not,
like
yeah.
Undertale a lot.
I appreciate that you got a platinum trophy for it for doing almost nothing.
I know. Well, that's a big part of You'll see
Free
one,
platinum trophy.
one connective thread through all the games I've chosen is that there's an element of replay in all of them. All 3 of the games that I chose, you can play it, multiple times over.
Get different
You're always finding
experience.
something different, get a different result. And then by the time you get to the last result, you feel like playing it the old way again. It's just fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Alright.
Next. Breath of the Wild, released March 3rd, 2017. That was both Shawn. I'm not sorry. You're the only
Other
person
Shawn.
that didn't say it. May. It was May and Dustin's pick.
Yes.
Breath of the Wild.
I mean,
so
I
let me talk
liked
first.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meg.
Alright, so I always wanted a Zelda game to be open world,
Mm-hmm.
and when it finally came out, it just pretty much blew my mind. It just exceeded my expectations and was even better than I thought it would ever be. And it just felt limitless. And as you go on each quest, you just keep exploring more and more things, and it's hard to put the remote down. You just kind of keep going and playing. I really enjoyed the major dungeons in the game. Some of the smaller ones, though, could be a little bit tedious, trying to figure out the different puzzles with the different abilities that you have. But overall, I really enjoyed the gameplay of it. I liked all the diversity of the weapons. It's like the game made you have to play with all the different weapons that you had. The fact that the weapons would break, and as you keep playing the game, you would get like a bigger inventory, and as you grow your inventory, you want to have like the wide range of weapons because of the different enemies that you would face. So it was neat. So you weren't just like stuck with like just one master sword or the arrows or the bombs.
And like the items, some of the items breaking made it so kind of like, to me, it made it so that you didn't try to conserve like your best stuff that much because it was more like
fun.
it was just like whatever, it's gonna break. It's gonna break in like 10 hits anyway. Let's just use my best thing right now. But like like the fire rods and stuff you get, I'd be just like F it, and blow it up.
And those guardian weapons too, when I first found them, I thought they were so precious and I didn't want them to break. But you end up finding a lot more of them throughout the game, and then they're pretty much almost disposable. So you can pretty much just use them whenever.
Everything in that game is kind of disposable, which is an interesting thing. It's a comment on life.
And I just loved like the colors and the atmospheres and the environment. I thought it was all very
watercolor
gorgeous.
painting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great art
It
style.
was
It had a nice like
amazing.
soft filter to it.
I just felt like it was one of the few games that I played in recent years that I just couldn't like put my remote down. I would just go on like binges of playing it days at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
What did I go through? A solid 8-month stint where that's
and
all I played every single day
I
after
watched
work.
you play it. I didn't personally play. I feel like it taught Dustin how to play modern games on a modern controller because he had to use like the fake GameCube controller that you put on the Wii and the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And like it was just you were locked in.
Yeah,
You were so locked in
it
for
was a massive
months.
trial by fire playing that
Yeah,
game.
and you had so much fun with it, and I think like that's just definitely a game that's accessible to anybody with any sort of play style. It's cute, it's pretty, it has limited music, but
That feature
Definitely.
alone I loved.
yeah, it just made sense, and the cooking was really cute and fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just to me the biggest thing in that game was being able to climb anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a mountain
I
across the
love
way,
that.
you can just
You just
go
want to
up
climb it.
it.
It's
Yeah, 'cause-
metaphorical, but it's
Yeah, because in a lot of like games you'll see far off stuff, even very open ones, and it turns into a big like to do about how do I get up there? You have to find a path to get up the mountain or something. You still do it to a certain extent because you didn't have unlimited stamina, but you could cook a lot of stuff to basically give yourself unlimited stamina.
Oh, and the
Spent a lot of hours
speedruns
doing
on
that.
that game,
Yeah.
the speedrun on that game is so good.
Yeah.
The
do yourself a
glitches.
favor and look that up. Game's done quick. Some of the stuff people have unlocked with
Yeah.
that.
Honestly, I'll link it. But
Yeah.
I think there's some people that even beat it with 3 hearts only, or
Yeah.
barely any heart
Yeah.
containers I've seen.
It's
insane.
amazing.
But you know what? That's the fact that you can even do that from the get-go. Because that was the first thing I heard about the game was
Oh, you can go beginner.
you can go
if you want
begin
to.
out of the get-go. Not explaining that like, Yeah, you could get the Ganon. You're not going to
You
beat him with
won't.
just, yeah.
Well, I mean, Chrono
It's
Trigger,
pretty
you can fight Lavos after like
Exactly. It doesn't mean
5
anything.
hours.
It was a bit of a nitpicking, element that people had. Like, well, it's a game, you can get to the end right out of the gate. Okay, but if you actually want to enjoy
but
it...
you're not going to.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can say that with a lot of games. This game, still to this day, like, there's people that are finding new things in this game. It's,
Yeah.
what, almost 5 years old at this point?
Just about.
There's people that are still like myself. I ended up beating the game with a pretty hefty amount of the materials, and I know I can go back and probably play it for another few months. There's a lot of things that I just get, like, at one point I
Did
just
you
gave
get a
up.
house in it too?
Yes.
Yeah, like
That's fun.
I didn't get the Shadow Link. There's a lot of things in that game that, like, I saw people talking about them. Like, I don't know where the hell to find this. I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, it's
But-
cool that you can.
Yeah, you can choose your own route, and that was the first open world game I ever played like that. My only gripe about the game, I know my May likes the dungeons and I love the dungeons, was not a big fan of the different Ganons. I wanted a little bit more variation in the bosses. That's just something all the other games had. This was pretty cool. They were definitely very challenging, and there was obviously a puzzle solving way to figure out how to actually beat them. But I wish there were a little bit more of a variety when it came to bosses in the game. But yeah, that was really cool. That was just a very beautifully done game.
It's definitely really replayable.
Yeah, pathos driving, very emotional.
Is it replayable? I feel like it's such a struggle to get anything done in that game. I can't imagine wanting to replay it.
Well, when you were talking about the cooking thing,
Well, I guess
I just spent
replayable
hours
in the sense that
cooking
you can
one
dip
day.
in and out
Yeah.
whenever you want.
Yeah, it's more of like
Do
you
more.
don't.
You can always explore.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
need to start a new save or anything. Just there's all even after you beat it,
Yeah,
you just
you're
go
right.
in and do
Yeah.
whatever.
I beat the game.
Grand Theft
And,
Auto Zelda.
Yeah, I beat the game, and I know there's still like 3 parts of the map I didn't unlock.
Mhm.
So at this point in time, like, the curiosity's still there. I'll probably pick it up and start playing again one day. It was a game for everybody, very well done. Curious to see where they're going with the second one.
Yeah, definitely can't wait.
It's
for
going
that.
underground.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a tough act to follow, but we'll see what happens.
Might even be better than
Next.
I made it.
Next we have Life is Strange. It came out January. Fuck.
January 19.
It came
55.
out January 30th, 2015. Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin, you picked that. I'm gonna let you talk about it again first.
What's so
I do
strange
have a
about
lot
life?
to say.
This game, I was
What's so
gonna say,
strange
I'm gonna
about
I
life?
do enjoy that game.
Jen introduced me to the game, so obviously she's got
I
a
had
massive
played it
fun.
before
Yeah.
that on 360.
I have a soft spot as a 36-year-old man for the occasional, well, I still call it ABC Family, the freeform drama. Switched at
CW
Birth,
drama, too.
Secrets of a Pregnant Teenager, whatever the hell it was called. You know what shows I'm talking about.
Secret Life of the
Secret
American
Pregnancy.
Teenager.
Yeah, show the CW dramas, like you were saying
You
yourself.
like
There's
teen dramas.
a little cattiness, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
The Degrassiisms. I'm also a massive sci-fi and paranormal nerd, and that game I felt was just a masterful mix of both of them. I mean, a lot of people will chalk it up to being a teen girl game, but it was just very well done and full of a lot of like corny like indie tropes. Like, the music itself was straight out of a Zach Braff film. There was the style itself looked like a mannequin for H&M, but it also felt very real though. Like, for those of you out there that have never played it, this girl Max can, to just summarize it, can essentially time travel, can rewind time. She witnesses a schoolmate murdering somebody. There's all this different outrolling of events that happen that it's very much the butterfly effect.
It literally has a
Yeah,
butterfly in it.
Exactly, that's one of the
That's a
symbols of the
symbol.
game. Like, every single action in that game begets a different consequence, and
And the consequences in that game are super heavy.
they feel real. It feels
There's
like, yeah.
one point, and this is, I guess it's a spoiler alert, but there's a character in that game who attempts suicide by jumping off
Mhm.
of a building, and how you talk to her and your interactions with her prior to that moment in the game have weight to her decision for jumping off the building. And the first time I played it, that bitch jumped and she was just dead. There was no saving
It's
her.
dead.
Yeah, and I looked up if you could save her, and you can, and I was like, well, fuck.
Well, you should have been a nicer person.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just I said the wrong things because I didn't remember her like brother's name or something.
Alright.
But also with that game, when I played it for the first time, I was so absorbed into it that when I was talking about it to somebody, I said me and Chloe rather than the character Sam and Chloe. And who I was talking about, they were like,
Max and Chloe.
"You mean Max and Chloe?" Yeah, Max and Chloe. And I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
not
those guys.
me."
Yeah.
I got
And
so
then-
absorbed into it, like I was the character.
Did you have an identity crisis where you thought you kissed Chloe?
I wish.
In my dreams.
I don't think I kissed her the first time.
That's another part of it too. And like, again, I guess we can do spoiler alert on games that are
I mean,
5 years old. You can kill your friend to save the world, or run away with her.
we'll save your city.
We'll save your city, pretty much. If you kill your friend, city's saved. If you let her live, everybody else dies. So
What do you
there's a
do?
massive Sophie's choice in this. And yeah, like, it just felt like I didn't live that kind of teenage life. But you watch two teenagers like really go through this massive existential struggle of like, I've been imbued with these crazy ass powers I don't understand, but I'm also still trying to be a
Hey,
teenager.
the story gets dark and very
Yeah.
real and takes a very unexpected turn, in my opinion.
I mean, when I had to make that decision to save the town, it was a pretty tough time in my life.
You're the reason why Beechwood's so shitty now, aren't you? But
You
yeah.
played Life is Strange, man.
Yeah. What did you play? What did you do as your ending?
I think we killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I did
killed.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for-
we killed her.
I
Effort.
wanted to
Kill the
save
bitch.
time. But
Oh, well,
Well, you gotta
yeah.
save that junkie guy in the trailer park. Can't let him go.
that's another part of it
That
too.
part
Yeah,
that
like
was really tense.
I think
trying to deal
you
with
can
him.
get him. I think he might die too if you make the wrong decision.
I didn't play it. I just watched May play it a little bit. I just remember
It's-
that
I think
pretty
like
well.
Chloe can kill him at one point.
Yeah,
like,
she
she has
can.
the
First
gun.
option, yeah.
but it's just after he got done playing it, like I was one of those like, where's this game been my whole life? Like I could probably say that about 99% of the games in the last decade.
Yeah.
I was excited. Like I heard there was an expansion. I heard there was a prequel. I heard there was a sequel.
The prequel game
The
was great.
prequel Before the Storm, fantastic game.
I would say better even.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Do yourself a favor. Don't touch the sequels. There was even one prequel that was like when they were young kids. I don't think we even finished the first like 10 minutes of it.
What are you talk- Oh.
You remember that? Exactly.
No, that
yeah.
was like an extension of. I don't even know. Yeah, that was bad. I didn't play
Yeah,
that.
the second one
I
is
totally forgot.
a massive woke culture.
Life is Strange
Mess.
2 sucked.
Graphics are incredibly dated, glitchy.
Really glitchy.
But you know what? That game is a work of art. There's something to be said for the fact that like, and I'm sure this happens with a lot of games. People make fan films of it. People write fan fiction
There was
from
a
it.
fan-made film.
Yeah, we
for
watched it
Life
on
is
YouTube.
Strange.
Check it
I
out. It's
watched
actually,
it.
it's cringeably beautiful.
Yeah, we'll link that too. Bloodborne released March 24th, 2015.
So a big series during the whole decade with Dark Souls games, all the FromSoft games. You got your Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, and to a certain extent Sekiro. And I love all those games, and I don't think there's any doubt that they're one of the most highly acclaimed series that a lot of people talk about and still play. So it's hard to pick just one, but Bloodborne was definitely my favorite out of the bunch. I love the combat. You were really focused on like having one weapon. The weapons were all really bizarre. They all had tricks to them. Combat was like really heavy and satisfying. And then, as with all the Souls games, it had kind of like a very vague storyline. It doesn't really tell you explicitly what's going on. All the NPCs you meet are kind of untrustworthy. You can't trust their motives. They might be lying.
That's fun.
The lore is... The game starts off as kind of like normal gothic horror, but as it goes along, it very slowly starts introducing kind of alien elements and turns into a Lovecraftian cosmic horror thing.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you're fighting like werewolves and beasts, and then all of a sudden they start getting like tentacles, and then they turn into weird little squishy alien things, but you find out the squishy alien things like used to be people that got experimented on. and you actually run into a lab where you see people that were transformed into these things. You find out there's this whole dream realm where these elder gods are influencing people, and I don't know, it just goes on and on. The story's so deep, and it's fun to make it. Like, you can look up channels on any Dark Souls lore, but I find the Bloodborne lore kind of the most satisfying because people really, really dig into it. The DLC is great too. It's only one DLC, and it's like three incredible areas, and kind of like a real last boss fight. It's better than the actual game's last boss fight. Yeah, I mean, May, you played it too.
Yeah.
How'd you?
I just love the
feel about
environment.
Bloodborne?
It's kind of a mix of gothic and steampunk kind of environments, a little bit of sci-fi. I really like that mashup of different environments.
Yeah, I love the weapons so much. I have my main weapon that I was using the last time I played is the boom hammer, which is a hammer that has a small furnace in the top of it. And when you hit the trigger button, your guy goes like this and lights the furnace and the hammer, and your next attack will be an explosion. And it just turns into this whole dance where it's like, hit the enemy with the explosion, while they're staggered, light it again, hit them with it again, and you just dance around. And you have one where you can light it with the enemy to like knock them away and achieve it at the same time. All the other Dark Souls games kind of rely on a shield. You don't have to rely on a shield, but they give you the option to use a shield, which is very helpful. Bloodborne is straight dodging. You can't be a mage. It's all melee. There's some tools you can use to mix in.
Weapons.
Yeah, if you really try, you can kind of get range attacks in there, but it's mostly you got to get in their face and dash around them. And yeah, Bloodborne, my favorite game this decade. Incredible.
It's
Great
just
stuff.
gorgeous.
Xenoblade Chronicles X, April
25.
April 29th, 2015.
So
I've never played this.
yes.
I've only watched you play it.
Yeah, I just watched
but
it 30 minutes
it's
ago.
very pretty.
What can I say? I have a need to play games that lots of other people don't.
Gotta be
So
different.
Xenoblade Chronicles X is like, I'm torn on it. It's a game I love that it exists. I love that I played it. I probably put like 150 hours into it and didn't beat it. But at the same time, it's kind of representative of everything I hate about modern JRPGs. Like, JRPGs were my genre. That's like all I played. When I was trying to think of our favorites for the decade list, I kept thinking of games from 2000 to 2009. And they're all JRPGs, and I'm amazed in my top 3 there's no Square games, because that seems like a given too. So it just, there's so much like micromanagement, and like loot is everywhere. You spend hours sorting through loot. It takes like a solid hour just to equip your characters. The combat system is almost like borderline nonsensical. There's just so much weird stuff that the storyline itself is very, well, it's not great, but it's a solid storyline. It's got some good ideas. The way it's delivered is atrocious. The characters talk forever. The writing is bad. The voice acting's but it says something about the game that, despite all those complaints, I would say that's one of my favorite games, because the scale of the game is insane. It's the largest. I feel like it's the largest open world I've ever played in. I'm not big on open world games, but this one truly feels like massive, like you truly are on a planet. I love mechs. You get in a mech, you can fly, like the first time you get in your mech and you have your pilot license, it takes like 50 hours to get there. You're just in the city and you just lift up right out of that. There's no load screen or anything. You go high the sky you want, and then fly to the top of some random mountain on the other side of the planet that you looked at previously and didn't think you could go to. There's monsters that are the size of skyscrapers that you're like, there's no way I'd ever fight that. That's just wandering out in the background. No, you can walk up to that whenever you want, stab it in the foot, and it'll just step on you and kill you instantly. The sense of scale and exploration and wonder, if you will, is, to me, it's unparalleled. So, and the combat, once you get your head around it, is pretty good. So,
So you don't go into a mech for 50 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Just like real life.
Jeez.
No, the game is very. I was telling Dust about it before, and you said it sounded like bureaucracy.
It's,
of the
yeah,
game.
bureaucracy of the game.
Yeah, because like the
You
story.
got the proper permits.
Yeah, basically the storyline is that your Earth basically got destroyed when these two random alien races came and decided to have a war with Earth like right next to them.
Yeah.
So humanity somehow found out this was happening, and they evacuated the Earth right before like the two aliens blew it up by accident. It was just collateral damage in their war. So you're on like an arc. 2 years later, the aliens come back, try to kill the humans. That you don't really know why. You crash land on some random planet, and so you have super limited resources. So they only let people that with a license have the mechs because they don't have that many of them.
That's wild.
I love that.
But it takes literally like a big problem with the game is like a lot of combat elements do not get introduced. Like most games would give you your mech, the way all the combat works, and all, and you know, general all the other features within the first 10 hours. This game takes like 50 hours. It parcels things out so slowly. But I don't know. It's a game that I'd like to take a month off from work and truly dig into and do everything I can in, because it's a major time sink.
Are there like written exams when you're getting your
Yeah.
mech license and stuff too?
Hmm?
Is there like a written exam where you're getting your mech license too?
No, I can't even remember, honestly.
What's
That's
more
so intense, yeah.
What's more
50
dangerous,
hours.
aliens
And then
or wet leaves?
After you get the mech license, you have to get a separate flight license to make it fly. It just walks until you get the flight
Never
license.
mind, you have to get it inspected every 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Don't drink in mech.
Expected for 3 years.
yeah. So that's a game. It's good.
That's a game.
Fuck that game. Fuck that game. Alright. Shovel Knight released June 26th, 2014.
So Shovel Knight, we already talked about Undertale.
Mm-hmm.
Shovel Knight would be the other, another one of the major heavy hitter indie titles that I think were a big deal this decade. And a lot of indie games that came out that were kickstarted, because Kickstarter was the major platform for a lot of these.
Yeah.
I found a lot of them to be massively disappointing. Probably because just the hype train got out of control, and they were working with small teams. A lot of times people weren't experienced at developing. So, they didn't really know how to deliver the exact experiences that they were communicating. Or, they would get overhyped and say too much. I know that, like, one game I was huge on was Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah.
I waited forever for that game to come out. And
I've only listened to the soundtrack.
yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's a great soundtrack. The game is fun, but compared to what the trailers and the initial Kickstarter campaign kind of looked like, and how they initially talked about how the game would work, it was very stripped down and simplified.
Yeah, that's a common thing I've heard about that game.
Yeah, and I mean, it was fun. I liked it, and if I hadn't been sold this grand revision, I probably would have been fine with how concentrated it was. But Shovel Knight, on the other hand, was a game that over-delivered. It just keeps on delivering because they just released a new campaign for it like this month. And it's all free. If you bought the original game, you got the original Shovel Knight campaign, then you got the Plague Knight campaign, then you got the Spectre Knight campaign, then you got the King Knight campaign, which has a whole collectible card game in it. And then you got the Royal Rumble mode, Shovel Knight Brawl or something like that. Shovel Knight Showdown, which is a 4-on-4, like Smash Brothers kind of multiplayer game. So you get 5 games for that one game. They all play very different. Shovel Knight is a high 8-bit game. It very much looks like a combination of like Mega Man and the old DuckTales game. Because you have the hoppy shovel, just like Scrooge McDuck. But
The distinct Capcom style.
Yeah, all the knights are very Mega Man style. You got your Plague Knight and your Digger Knight guy. Honestly, the other knights' names were very memorable. But their personalities were. The game had an astonishingly good story for what it was. They actually put some effort into the story. There's secrets everywhere. The platforming is very challenging. But when you die, you just go back to the last, like checkpoint. There's no lives. It has a risk-reward system where if you break the checkpoints, you get a bunch of money.
Okay.
And so if you die, you have to go even further back because you blew up your checkpoint. But you get massive rewards for doing that. So there's a risk-reward for it.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It has a map screen just like Mario 3 where it's little tiles that you move on. so many endearing like characters. Like there's the I can't remember his name. It's just this giant fish that spits juice for your healing potions. And you know, Shovel Knight makes cameos in like everything now.
Yeah.
All indie games.
We were talking earlier, a game I'll mention probably later on, Bloodstained. It's one of the enemies in it, and you actually get his powers.
Yeah.
You can summon him, so...
That's fun.
That's one of those games, you know, I missed the train on that, but actually after tonight, definitely have to pick up on it, because it sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And I mean, they sell it either as the treasure trove now. Like, in the beginning, it was all you got was Shovel Knight, and they add the campaigns in.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually, like, maybe people don't want all this shit, we'll split it into separate parts. So, you can buy the treasure trove, where you get Shovel Knight and all the other stuff, or you can buy the separate Shovel Knight games.
Okay.
You buy the Plague of Shadows, or, I can't remember the names of the other ones. The Spectre Knight one. But the main one, which is called just Shovel of Hope, is probably the best of all of them. And that's the original, the OG. Shovel Knight came through when others let us down.
I'm sold.
Thank you, Shawn Mae. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that presentation.
Arigato.
Mass Effect 2 released January 26th, 2010.
Okay, so Mass Effect 2. I really enjoyed the whole Mass Effect series, as far as 1 through 3. I only played a little bit of Andromeda though, but out of all the games, Mass Effect 2 definitely was the best one for me. For that game, I never really felt a game where your decisions, every decision that you make, no matter how small or big, ultimately affects like the galaxy in a way, whether it be like how you interact with the characters or different like communities within the game. In this game, I never really cared so much about like my crew members. After
Yeah,
each
like you
mission,
wanted
would
to
have
go talk to them.
Yeah.
Like you wanted to catch up with them, you wanted to see how their day was, you wanted to further your relationship with everybody in the game, because the dialogue was even pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was neat that it kind of had like a dialogue wheel. Like you can pick, there's kind of like a neutral route, and then there's a Paragon route, which is basically being a good guy, and then one called like Renegade. Yeah.
I was always Paragon. I could
guy.
not be Renegade. I couldn't do it.
So Renegade is
Yeah.
bad?
Renegade is bad. Yeah.
Natural.
And you know, after you get to play through the missions and get to know the characters, it's just like there's just no way it could be Renegade, because I kind of like treated the characters like as if it was real life, and it was just hard to treat them poorly. And I
Yeah.
always kind of treated them like as if they were actually like my real friends.
You
and,
like
my
wanted to be
real
a
crew.
good leader too. Like as
Exactly.
Commander Shepard, whether you're male or female, you just wanted to be a good leader.
Exactly, yeah. And because in the end you kind of go on this thing called like a suicide mission to help save the galaxy, and you want to make sure that you have everybody on board. So one of the goals of the game was, I think you can collect up to like about 13 different members on your crew. It was definitely pretty big. It was definitely the Mass Effect game with the biggest amount of crew members that you can attain. But the goals with each of them is to try to gain their max loyalty. So you pretty much had to go Paragon and make good decisions all the way through. And as you gain their loyalty, you unlock more special abilities with them in combat, which is what you really need in order to get through the levels and missions a little bit easier and more effectively. Yeah, so.
And the romance.
And romances were definitely fun.
I played that game so I could fuck. Like that's the only reason I played that shit. I remember.
I always see
And Jessica
aliens.
Jones
Yeah.
in it. She's like an interviewer in it. You can like let her interview you or not, I believe. So it's
Yeah.
fun. Nice little cameo.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing cutscenes of people seducing blue people and banging them.
That's what I did.
Definitely done
I think
that
her name
too.
was Lana.
Yeah.
I think I
Bang
picked
the
her in
blue.
every single game to be my girlfriend. I had to stay loyal to my chick.
Mm-hmm.
She's the obvious choice. You're not gonna get with the plain guy.
This is
Yeah.
like
No
this,
humans.
This is
Yes,
like,
they're
Yeah.
so boring.
Sorry,
this is
plain
like
guy.
the argument in Fire Emblem Three Houses, where the whole internet was like, well, the obvious choice is, and everyone had a different obvious choice.
No, they were all winners, at least for the alien races to me.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, they're all diverse. I picked Thane as the green one to be my romance choice.
I picked Lana, the blue chick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking love Mass Effect a lot. It's just, there was so much weight to all your decisions, and you really felt like you were part of that universe, and you didn't want to leave. It was so fleshed out and so cool. You did not want to leave, and the combat was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty much. I just thought the environments were also very gorgeous in that too, and some of the cities were almost Blade Runner-ish, which I absolutely loved. Other than that, a lot of the different species and alien races had like a lot of neat background stories, and you can definitely get lost in them. There's a lot to learn from talking to them and then finding different artifacts in the game, and then you go in your archives and read about them, and it gets very involved.
Yeah, it's really fleshed
It's
out
really
world.
detailed.
It's a shame that Andromeda did what it did.
And, yeah.
Last of Us released June 14th, 2013.
Yeah, so The Last of Us, I feel like, is one of the best survival horror games that's come out. In the, actually, like, over all time, I feel like. I can't remember another survival horror game that I enjoyed playing aside from some of the Resident Evil games and Silent Hill. So this game really stood out to me. Can't think of anything else in the past decade, really, that was just as good as that. And I also like the character developments between Joel and Ellie. I don't really want to spoil the game. And since it's been about 7 or 8 years since I played it, I can't remember the whole plot like entirely though, but it's definitely one of those games where I had to just kind of sit down and finish to get through the story. And the second one's coming out at some point, I think next summer. Definitely looking forward to see what happens with the characters then. What can I say about this? It's definitely like very spooky environment.
I think the gameplay was really fun, like the mechanics in general. I played it for a few hours. I'd say probably 6 hours, and then I just stopped playing it because I really don't have a reason. It was an awesome game.
Yeah.
But I was genuinely scared. The sneaking mechanics were genuinely fun and fulfilling, and you really wanted to like avoid the monsters. That's pretty much as far as it got, but I just remember it being like really smooth, really cool, very cinematic, gorgeous. You could see the dust in the air on that game. It was so gorgeous visually. Like PlayStation, I love Xbox, like obviously, but PlayStation fucking killed this decade. They released the best fucking games of the decade, and that was one of them. Their exclusives killed it.
Yeah, Sony made big investments in the right third-party developers.
Spider-Man, Last of Us, Uncharted, whatever else I can't think of. Bloodborne. Was that only PlayStation?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. All the other FromSoft games are multi-platform except for Bloodborne. And Demon Souls, which was the first one of the whole thing. That was PS3.
Yeah.
And didn't Last of Us have, weren't the zombies like fungus zombies?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've always been into the idea. Always been into the idea of fungus zombies. So good job, Last of Us.
Yeah, definitely.
Skyrim released 2011, November 11th. I picked Skyrim as mine. I think it's the best game of the decade, hands down. I still play it to this day. I played it originally on Xbox 360, and I just had a fun time with it. I don't even know what I did, but I was like pretty much a big thief. And then I recently just started it again within this last year or so, mostly because I wanted to show Dustin, and he created a character and then didn't play it, so I ended up playing it. And
naturally,
now it's my character.
Is it a cat person?
No.
It was just
I think it's a Nord.
a grizzled hobo-looking guy.
Yeah, I changed the way he looked because it was so ugly.
I think. Yeah.
The first time I played it, I was a wood elf, I think. No, I might have been a dark elf. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's the best game because you can literally play it forever.
Yes.
Just literally play it forever. Every time I play that game, I talk to somebody randomly on the side and get another side quest. So it's fucking infinite. I love stealing shit in that game. I just got into smithing. I built my own house. I got a wife. I did the Dragonborn DLC. It's just the most playable game. And every fucking quest that you go on has this at least semi-interesting storyline. Even conversations between people in like an inn, you listen to it and it's genuinely interesting. The books, I'm sure, are interesting. I've never read them within the world, but it's just such a fleshed out world with such interesting lore. Everything you do is interesting in that game and super fun, and I'm really a big fan of it.
Yeah, and the exploration's just great, and it's just endless too. It kind of has a Breath of the Wild feel to it. Also, you see something in the distance, and you just want to keep going. And then as you're going there, you collect other missions, and you see other people to talk to. You bump into other inns that you didn't even realize were there up until the point that you try to get there too. So,
I mean, you get arrows in your knee.
I found out that means you got married, and I had no idea forever.
Well, in real life,
Arrow to the knee means that you got married. That's what that's from. That's why everybody says it in that game. I used to be an adventurer like you, and then I took an arrow in the knee, aka I got married.
Yeah.
I thought they literally...
Because you got on your knee? Is that what, like...
I don't.
Oh,
yeah,
Maybe that's what it is. Oh.
Leave it in the comments.
Did I just explain this to you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Because we're all married now.
Yeah, that's really what it means.
I found it literally like they took an arrow in the knee, and that meant like their tendons were damaged to their knee, and they weren't athletically capable anymore.
So if you're looking for a new, fresh way to propose to your girlfriend, put an arrow in her knee.
Shoot her.
No, you shoot yourself.
Oh yeah, you shoot yourself. You gotta get that.
Sorry.
No, you proposed to me.
I ain't no Cupid. What can I say? I'm not a love doctor.
Ain't no Cupid.
Did you?
I'm not Dr. Joyce.
Did you guys play the earlier Elder Scrolls games? Did you play Oblivion or
I
Morrowind?
played a little bit of Oblivion. I did not play Morrowind though.
I played a fuck ton of Oblivion.
So how?
Morrowind is unplayable.
Morrowind's unplayable.
At this point, there's like the map system is atrocious.
Well, speaking of unplayable, I played the second one, Daggerfall, which was only on PC. I never played the first one, which I think is called Arena. But so like, how does it compare to Oblivion?
I never beat
How you feel
Oblivion actually
difference?
though because
Like they're both wide open, do
big
anything, right?
Yeah.
The worst thing about Oblivion in comparison, like in Skyrim, you have dragons that randomly spawn.
Yeah.
And like it can be kind of annoying after a while. But in Oblivion, it's fucking worse because they have these like Oblivion rip holes.
The gates.
Yeah, the gates to
and
whatever.
keep coming
And
out.
they fucking chase you around. They're boring as hell to get through. I got lost in every single one I went through. I never beat the storyline of Oblivion because it was so horrible to go through those portals and get to the end. I just remember really fucking hating it and like really not having fun.
That's definitely one of the turn-offs for me with that game too. I couldn't get through it because of that.
Yeah, randomly spawning shit. Like, I don't want to deal with this. It's not fun.
Yeah. And with Skyrim, you don't really have anything interrupting you but the dragons occasionally. And even then, you can kind of run past them too.
Yeah, you
it's
can
like a little bit
leave.
optional. Yeah. And fighting the dragons is just amazing. Being able to absorb their souls and then
So
using those
satisfying.
souls to learn new shouts, and the shouts would give you more abilities, whether if it's like pushing back enemies or giving you some kind of magic barrier or casting a spell with it. And it's just, there's so many spells to learn too, and knowing that there's so many to learn, it makes you want to explore those dungeons, because you mostly learn them in like random dungeons like that you explore. Like you discover those big dragon stones and unlock those runes, and then you read them, and so just
Incredibly
fun.
satisfying
Yeah.
seeing dragons float around because it's just mystical. And that game is gorgeous.
It
Oblivion
is.
was gorgeous too, but
definitely was very
Skyrim's far superior. And I used to think the opposite until I started playing it again.
Yeah,
recently.
very replayable.
Yeah.
I had it for 360 in 2011, and then I think it was 3 years ago or so I got it remastered for the PlayStation 4. But even still, like I feel like almost every year I'm picking up the game and just playing it for a few hours on end, maybe for a few weeks, and
Super
then
relaxing.
yeah,
You
very
can do a fetch
relaxing.
quest, or you can go into it like a dungeon or a cave. Like you can do long-term quest or just something short and fun.
And the music's just great for it too. The composition of it, like I find myself putting it in the background while I'm studying sometimes. Yeah.
There's something to be said about the open worldness of it that I've watched you play it for hours on end, and I'm like, so what's the end game here? Oh, there is none. This is just another quest. Every time you play the game, it's a brand new quest. It's just like you were saying before. It could just you being like, I think the other day you got married and became a homemaker, and that was pretty much it.
Dude,
You built your home, got married, got 2 orphans,
the Dark
gave them an
Brotherhood,
allowance.
the Assassins, like, I wasn't even planning on doing this quest, right? But there was this lady in an orphanage who was a fucking bitch to the orphans.
I remember
So
that.
I killed her, because I was like, you know what, I don't
She's
like
so
this
mean.
chick. I'm just gonna kill her, because specifically, like, they just said that they didn't like her and asked the Dark Brotherhood to kill her. So I was like, I'll kill her, whatever.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that when I went to sleep in my home, I would wake up in an abandoned warehouse with this chick from the Dark Brotherhood telling me to find out of 3 people who the murderer is and kill one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did it, of course. And then she's like, it doesn't matter who you chose, it just matters that you obeyed. And I was like, this bitch is hot, first of all. Second of all, like, what? How cool? Because I wasn't even anticipating that. So it even like sneaks up on you. These like crazy things.
That's
Yeah.
this is kind of off topic, but Romancing Saga 3, old Super Nintendo game, was recently released in America for the first time on PlayStation, and it gave me that same sense. Like one day I just walk into town and some freaking demon just smacks me in the face and runs by, and then like, hey, I got hunted down, I got the mayor.
Yeah.
Random ass shit like that. Like I'm just trying to walk into a town to buy a new sword,
Yeah.
and the quest just smacks you in the face. Because the
Sideline
Saga games are kind of like a big open world. Well, not really open world, but as close to open world as you can get on a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of stuff's always fun. I think it's weird that like Skyrim has like supplanted all other Elder Scrolls. It's like they didn't exist at this point. That's what like I feel like.
It's like it has elements of every single one,
Yeah.
but it's just superior.
Yeah, but I just feel like Morrowind came out and it was a big deal when it came out, but
I remember
then
hearing about it.
and then Oblivion came out and it was a bigger deal. But like you would stop hearing about them eventually. Skyrim just won't go away.
And the mods.
It's
The
a
mods
game
for
that won't
Skyrim.
stop.
And
And
there's
you
a
can mod
VR.
it on Xbox.
Yeah, well the other
Yeah,
And
games.
there's definitely VR.
You
Yeah.
can-
I actually wanted to try for VR.
The
I
one
would love
problem-
to try for VR.
The one problem with it is Bethesda is milking it too hard because the re-release was like close to full price, if not full price. VR, you had to buy it all over again.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that they're milking it because I feel like there's so much to that game.
Yeah.
It deserves to be full price. I don't think it should drop in price because it's still so. And they're still updating it.
But it doesn't.
They're still updating it.
It doesn't cost them anything at this point. It's just
I don't
found
know.
money.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that
Like the
they're
Switch
milking it.
version again. Like the one that really got me is that they gave you the remastered version for PS4. Then they did the PSVR version. So if you bought it before you knew the VR was out, you had to buy it all over again for the VR one. That's stupid.
That I don't agree with, but I also like. I don't know that I would care as much.
And you can play it on Alexa too, apparently.
Yeah, you can play it on any. Someone was
there's
making.
a special thing for Alexa where you can do that.
Someone was making a joke that you could play it on Teslas soon. Like it's just everywhere.
Oh
You can
yeah.
play Stardew on Tesla now. Stardew Valley.
Anyway.
Skyrim. I fucking love that game.
That's a game.
I was playing it 3 days ago.
Actually, maybe I'll even play that tonight.
You should. I'll probably play it tonight too. It's like my winds down game at
It really
night.
is. Yeah.
Your orphans always crack me up in that game because I'm kids like, Father, so nice to see you. Can I have an allowance?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What does he call the one kid as an insult?
A milk drinker.
That's
Lars
it.
is such a milk drinker.
Oh. And I hate milk drinkers.
Who doesn't hate milk drinkers?
Put that on the record.
I think that means
Oh,
a
yeah.
baby. Next one is March 26th, 2013.
Madden 2012.
WWE.
BioShock Infinite released March 26th, 2013.
I played the fuck out of this
I
game.
played that one a lot
I
too.
also played the fuck out of this game.
Amazing game.
I've fallen out of loving it with subsequent years, but it doesn't change
Why?
that I played shit out of it. I think the story's stupid.
It's not stupid. I just
You're
replayed
stupid.
it. I just replayed it for the first time since I played it when it originally came out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when it first came out, I beat it within like 3 days because
Yeah.
I was sick,
Yeah.
so I just beat it quick.
I binged it.
I
Yeah.
stood up at the end of it and I just like had to pace around back and forth because the
You
ending
stood
was
up and
so
clapped?
good.
Clapped at the screen.
I was alone, but I was like pacing back and forth. I was like, oh my god, this was crazy. I think it's a fucking great game. I think the story is really good, especially in today's climate of 2019. If you play it right now, it's a little eerie. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go any further than that, but just if you play it in 2019, you'll see some pretty interesting shit that reflects today. I just thought it was really fun. The world is gorgeous. Very open, because they even have like random houses that you can go into and pick locks and find secrets, and like there's all extra shit if you really want to explore the area. Elizabeth is such an alive character in that game. Like, when I first was playing it, when she would toss me something, I would verbally say thank you to her. As if she's like a real chick, because she was just very real and very sweet. And you wanted to, like, help her get to where she wanted to be. Even though Booker's kind of like a bad guy in it, you end up like really wanting to treat her sweetly. So I thought it was a fucking great game and just completely gorgeous, especially the remastered on Xbox One. So gorgeous.
Yeah, I really love the hook to travel, or sky hook thing.
Yeah, and smashing someone in the face with that.
Yeah, good stuff. The plasmids, or whatever they were called.
The tonics?
I can't remember what they were called in that one.
They're
Because
plasmids, but you drink the tonic.
I get it confused with the old one because it used the...
It's the same, it's called the same thing though, because it's the same like
It is?
universe
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the powers you can get. You can mix them in creative ways.
Yeah.
Like I know with mine, I only wanted to concentrate on having 2 guns because you go to the vending machines and upgrade them.
Yeah, you do.
And I wanted to pile all my money into only 2 guns and not have to spread it out. So, but my 2 choices left me with no way to get like snipers. So I ended up using the water power because it would grab people and pull them close. So whenever people were sniping, I had that fully upgraded too. And just go up, it would grab like 5 guys at once and pull them all at me. And then I used the electric one to set traps. So you pull them into the traps, water plus electricity, then they're there. You pull out the big gun, blow them away. So that was my go-to that I did for basically everything in that game.
And it's eerie. Like I was scared when I was
Yeah,
playing that game. So
very
much.
atmospheric.
There's a horror element to it. It's sci-fi.
the
which I
screaming
definitely
guy.
enjoy.
The songbird.
Yeah.
Oh, the songbird. Yeah, and it's kind of steampunk too in a way.
Very
Super.
steampunk,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. Now, what was the general? I think we've talked about this before, but what was the general reception of it when it came out?
Everybody loved it.
Did everybody love it?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
I was curious about that because I had played the original BioShock. My first foray into this was when you were starting to play it, and I fell in love with it. Again, fantastic game. Love the historical elements of it, the steampunk elements of it. Yeah, I just wasn't quite sure how it was actually
What's
received
George
because.
Washington that you get to kill?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I remember that from the
Hilarious.
commercials and being like, "This game is gonna be fucking nuts."
Yeah. I don't know. I remember feeling that I liked the whole storyline at first, but then I thought about how like sad the actual ending was, and I don't know. I'm starting to forget. Did you play the DLCs?
I own the DLC, but I still have never played it.
I
don't
tried.
know why.
I like the DLC.
Like I feel like a fraud because I haven't played the
The
DLC.
the noir one. Where you're like the detective and Elizabeth is the hot dame. That came out, I think, maybe a year or 2 years after the game. I felt like it was a long time after.
It was too long. Like I stopped
Yeah.
caring. Not that I stopped caring about it, but I was past it.
I felt like once I got out of the rhythm of the way the shooting in that game worked, it was hard for me to get back into it.
You know, there's one part in that game where you have to like take down a blimp that's like attacking a ship.
Yeah.
It's a fucking nightmare of a level, and it takes me so long to beat it.
Is
When
it
I
the
first
last
played
one?
it, it's like the third to last one or something. But like the first time I played it, it took me so long to beat it, and now I'm playing it again, and I'm like stuck on it, and I just like don't even want to play because it's so unenjoyable. And I'm
Yeah.
on
I remember
easy.
dying a couple times for that one.
Yeah, it's too hard. I'm on
19
easy, and it's like hard as fuck.
Yeah, I did a 19. What's the hardest mode? 1999 mode or something like that.
know.
I did it on that. It's like numbers pop out of things when you shoot it, like it's an RPG. I think it's called 1999 mode. I did a full run on that where every time I died, I would restart. So I was trying to do a no death run.
Yeah.
So if you died, it was a game over, and I was literally starting fresh over and over.
Wow.
And I did that all the way until the last fight, where I died like 100 times. I just gave up. So I gave myself one death, because in the end I just had. It was like the absolute last level of that game is. You're on like a ship and you have to defend a generator or something.
No, that's what it is, and it's like
That's
the
the last-
hardest. Is that the
Yeah,
last
that's the
one?
last level.
It's
Logan.
so
Yep.
hard.
Yes, that.
It's unnecessarily hard
Yep.
because Songbird's supposed to like come and help you out,
Yeah.
and then like the blimp ends up just like breaking or whatever the fuck you're on.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's so chance.
No, to
It's
me,
so stupid.
I had it like I only had one George Washington left, and he killed me. And I'm like, I'm not restarting again. I did this too many times, and I came back.
Fun.
And it was the generator's like life bar was shrinking, and the George Washington guy, I was just like blowing the shit out of the I had the big like rocket what's it, the gun that shoots in an arc. It shoots like bombs in an arc. I was just standing behind him, just shot like 20 of those. He died right before the generator did. And I was like, that sucked, I'm never playing this game again.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's over.
Just the worst part.
But yeah, after that, I wanted the burial at sea thing looked great, but I played it for like 10 minutes. I was like, meh, I stopped.
Yeah.
And that was the end of my BioShock Infinite experience. Super hyped when it came out, loved it, played the shit out of it. I should probably try it again.
They're
I
gonna
have a lot of
have
other
one.
games to play.
Yeah.
Too many games to play.
Too many games.
Yeah, it's endless.
The best mobile game to come out of this decade, in my opinion, is Love, Nikki, Dress Up Queen, released April 20th of 2017.
So, like, how dark is the storyline?
Apparently very intricate for a dress-up game.
So this game was shown to me by just some girl. I was like, oh, dress-up game, like, that's cute. And she told me to download it, so I did. And then, like, a few weeks later, I, like, really started playing it. And it consumed me. I play it pretty much every night. It has a super active community. So Love, Nikki, Dress Up Queen, essentially, at the base of it, is a dress-up game. But there's, like, chapters that you go through and, like, challenges, and you have to, like, upgrade your clothes. I don't care about the story personally, but apparently the story is, like, very rich, and people really like it, but I can't be bothered. But even though I'm not into the story of this game, I'm so fucking sucked in because they have, like, weekly challenges where you have to, like, dress up as a certain theme, and then people vote, and you could be in, like, the top 1% or top 20 of the world or whatever. There's, like, a creative mode where you just get to make, like, these outfits, but it's much more than that because with the items that have come out over the past 2 years of it being out, you can create actual fucking art, and, like, it's like RPG character creation all the time. So it's super fun, and you can create really gorgeous scenes, and you can be a part of an association and unlock more things, and you collect materials, and you craft, and they have cool collaborations. Like, they had a Barbie collaboration, now they have a Hatsune Miku collaboration. It's just cool as fuck. And I play it every single day, and picking a mobile game was, like, kind of lame, but it's one of the best games of this decade.
It's a game.
And that game even sponsored the 2018 New York City, or Anime New York City Masquerade for, like, the costume contest. So it's, like, super embedded into the community, and it's fucking awesome.
You make me want to play it now.
It's the best shit ever. I love it. And I've put, like, $200 into it.
Yeah, people made some very gorgeous.
Yeah.
$200 is bushly compared to what some people spend in that game.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. Like, those games,
You can
They
tell how much
make
people
money.
play. You can tell how much people put money into it because you
Yeah.
get like levels. I'm like a level, I don't know what I am, but there's like high tier people that you can only get to with money, and people spend a lot of money on that game. So some honorable mentions that we just want to bring up. We're just gonna yell them at the camera. So what are you guys thinking?
Go ahead.
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
But Persona 5, that was almost in top 3.
Diablo 3 or StarCraft 2.
Definitely Diablo 3. Oh, Stardew Valley. Duh.
Severed. It was a Wii U game, also a 3DS game. No one played it.
Mhm.
Legitimately, no one played that one.
Thumper. The
Thumper is
remake.
awesome, especially in VR.
And it's on your phone too, you can get it.
Yeah, but you can't wear you can wear your phone on your face. But...
Yeah, what about Tetris Attack? Wait, no, it's not
That
Tetris
was-
No,
Attack.
Tetris Effect.
Tetris Effect.
See, that's
yes.
what I mean. The
That's
VR
the
game.
VR one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the VR one. Tetris Effect is an excellent VR game. The other one I was thinking about picking, but it's a collection of games, so I felt like I was cheating, was the Wipeout Omega Collection, which is the best VR game I've ever played. It's incredible, but it makes you very motion sick. So you got
Death Stranded.
Yeah.
Wait, what is it
Death
called?
Stranding.
Death Stranding. I
Death
really
Stranding.
want to play that so
You're like, that's
bad.
my honorable mention. I don't know the name of
I've
it.
never played it, but my brother-in-law explained it to me,
Mhm.
and I was like, that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my
It's
life.
I'm
it's a
definitely gonna play
walking.
that next year.
Isn't it just an
Sure.
epic
I'm
walking
a fan of Kojima,
simulator?
and I love all the Metal Gear games, and you know this isn't Metal Gear, but it's Kojima's work, and it's just
Yeah.
something that it's definitely worth
Well,
trying out.
apparently it's like community. Like, I can build a bridge in it, and you will see that bridge in your game.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fucking
Well,
crazy.
it's instance. It's
Yeah.
kind of random who sees it, but yeah.
It's pretty
Someone sees
crazy.
it.
So, yeah.
Indie games. Hyper Light Drifter, even though it was disappointing, was still great.
Enter the Gungeon.
Enter Gungeon was
And
awesome.
Binding of Isaac.
I never played it, but yeah, I've heard a lot about it. Towerfall, archery, multiplayer fun.
One, I think the last game that really captivated me was Momodoro Reverie Under the Moonlight. It's an amazing game. The whole Momodoro series, in retrospect, is pretty good, but that's I think the last one that just came out, and it's a fantastic game.
Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat 11.
Mm.
Not Soulcalibur. So bad. The new one's so fucking bad, dude. It is Soulcalibur.
Soulcalibur.
Jeez. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Hard
they're
stuff.
decent
So,
ones.
I really love Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8
Okay.
is the best Mario Kart. Too much Mario
Yeah, I
Kart.
think so too. I think that's the best.
It's
Mario Kart.
incredible. It's actually incredible. I legitimately thought about
Hold up.
putting that in the top 3 because it's so good.
I want to say Smash Ultimate, just because it's so hyped for
Yeah,
esports.
that's true.
And Overwatch.
Mhm.
I can't think of any other honorable mentions, unfortunately. What
No,
games do
I said
play?
all the newer games I've ever played, so.
What's the last video game you played? Like newer ones. May, you're playing.
I'm doing Dark Souls 2.
Oh, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Oh,
Come
yes,
on.
absolutely love that.
Captain
and as far as
Toad.
the VR, I really enjoyed
Oh,
Moss.
Moss,
Even
yes.
though it was only about a 5-hour game, but gorgeous game though.
Astrobot Rescue Mission.
Yeah.
Cutest
It's
shit
just
ever.
kind of like a platforming, kind of Mario type game, but
It's-
with little robots.
So that's a decade.
Oh, Hearthstone.
Ah,
Hearthstone took too much of my money and my time, and I want it back. Give it back.
Unfortunately.
Give me back my money.
That's what we chose. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts on it at all. Subscribe to us.
Smash that like button.
If you enjoyed it, if you don't like us, don't give me a thumbs down. I just don't like that. It's not very
yeah,
nice.
it's not polite either.
Yeah, it's not polite.
It's very
If you don't like it, watch something else.
Mhm.
Yeah, why are you even
God,
here? Why are
get
you
out.
again?
Make a video about how much we're, how sensitive we are.
Yeah, we're sensitive.
I feel
Yeah.
like we should do the Ferris Bueller thing now, where it's
What's
like,
that?
you're still here?
Yeah.
Go.
That was perfect. I'm gonna just edit that.
See you in 2020.
See you in 2020.